With that in mind, I would like to welcome everyone to the CCOC COVID-19 Town Hall. My name is Mark Fine. I'm the chairman of the Montgomery County Commission on Common Ownerships. Gentleman about 6 feet from me is Phil Giza, one of our commissioners. He's got a laptop and a pad that he's using to field all the questions. Anyway, I'd like to introduce our panel if I could. And to start off with, we have Vicki Vergani. Vicki is a property community manager. She's been doing this since, I'm going to use the second one, Vicki, 1981. Vicki has been very, very active with the commission. She is a board member, president of the board, and on-site manager of Glenway Gardens. She is a past commissioner with the CCOC, 3 years as a vice chair, and she is currently co-chair of the Montgomery County Distressed Community Task Force. I'm not sure what order you're seeing them in. Stacy Gelfound is also a commissioner. She carries a lot of credentials, CMCA, AMS, and PCAM. She's vice president of First Residential Services. She's been nationally recognized as a certified manager of community associations and the association management specialist and PCAM, as I said, since 1996. She holds a Virginia Community Manager's License. She's been involved in management of community associations since 1987. She started out in Leisure World. I remember that. Anyway, she also serves with CAI's, the Community Associations Institute, the Washington Metropolitan Chapter Board of Directors. She was on that board from 2002 to 2009. She was president of the chapter in 2006. She is a CAI faculty member at the national level. I could go on and on and on. She served 6 years on the commission from 2006 to 2012, serving 2 years as chairperson. And if that wasn't punishment enough, she came back in 2016 to help us out on the commission. We have David Gardner. David Gardner is an attorney in Rockville, Maryland. He has been on the commission since 2016. He practices family law and HOA condominium association law. He also deals in personal injury, criminal real estate, civil litigation, and appellate. He served as a volunteer panel chair from 1991 to 1998. In 1987, he was principal of his own law firm, became the law offices of David Gardner. He's been a member of CAI since 2010 and has published a lot of articles in Quorum. He has served as president of the Greater Albany Civic Association between 1993 and 1997. He was a member of the Ashton Sandy Springs Master Plan Citizens Association. We have Tom Deyo. Tom is the CEO of Montgomery County Green Bank. Tom joined Green Bank in 2017, I believe, and you were the first CEO to support Green Bank's mission to accelerate affordable investments in clean energy for the benefit of businesses and residents of Montgomery County. Green Bank was capitalized with about 20 million, is that right? $20 million from the county, from settlement funds, from utility merger. The Green Bank's focusing their initiatives around commercial and industrial properties, as well as single family homes, affordable rental housing properties, community solar, and commercial solar. He's led the Green Bank in developing its initial commercial and residential efficiency renewable energy products. He joined Green Bank from the a national nonprofit, NeighborWorks America. My tongue is getting tired, I apologize. He led the division focused on real estate and development and management to green strategies for 9 years. Prior to that, he worked with Fannie Mae for approximately 14 years. Tom's been a resident of Montgomery County for about 30 years and a graduate of Loyola University of Chicago and the University of Virginia, and he will also be doing a presentation after I do the one that I have scheduled. I feel like I'm looking at the Brady Bunch. I got some smiles. Anyway, Karen Strong. Karen and I have been buds now, I guess, about 10 years. She is the Assistant Attorney General and Director of Mediations for the Consumer Protection Division of the Attorney General's Office of the State of Maryland. The mediation group's made up of 4 full-time offices, 1 in Baltimore, 1 in Largo and Prince George's County, 1 in Hagerstown, 1 in Salisbury. They have 3 part-time offices, 1 in Frederick, Cumberland, and Hughesville. Under Ms. Strawn's direction, the mediation unit handles approximately 10,000 complaints a year and has about a 60% success rate. She's held that position for over 10 years now. Prior to going to consumer protection, she served 3 years as Director of Consumer Complaints, Property and Casualty Unit for the Maryland Insurance Administration, after working as a private attorney in the insurance defense field. She received her law degree in 1998 from the University of Baltimore Law School and her undergraduate degree from Towson University. Frank Damaris, he is our new Deputy Director of the Department of Housing and Community Affairs. His background is very extensive and very wide. He has worked with the Department of Housing and Community Development for Washington, D.C. from 2016 to 2018, Transitional Housing Corporation, better known as Housing Up, from the year 2015. He's been with Manna Mortgage. He was with them from October of 2003 to December of 2014. Fannie Mae from 1986 to 2003. I could go more, but I don't want to embarrass him there. But Frank has been a very, very good help to the commission, as well as I believe Tim is also on the line to Getzinger. Commander Darren Frank, he is the commander of the 3rd District, Montgomery County. You do an amazing job, that's all I can say. You're everywhere. If I don't see you on the street, you're in a Zoom somewhere. But we greatly appreciate your attendance on this one. And I guess I can say from the background this time, I'm glad you're home as opposed to the last time. I think you're out in the lobby of the district, the district substation when we were talking.
Yep.
Welcome.
Still in uniform, ready to go.
That'll work. And last but certainly not least, it's my pleasure to introduce the president of the Montgomery County Council, Sidney Katz. Mr. Katz was elected to represent the Council District 3 in November of 2014. He was reelected to a 2nd term in 2018. Started his public career in Gaithersburg, serving on the Planning Commission from 1976 to 1978. He was elected to the Gaithersburg City Council in 1978 and served there until 1998. When he was elected the mayor of Gaithersburg in 1998, he served until November 10th of 2014 when he resigned to be put on the Montgomery County Council upon winning the election there. Councilmember Katz is also the chair of the Council's Public Safety Committee and a member of the Government Operations and Fiscal Policy Committee. He was inducted into the Maryland Municipal League Hall of Fame in 1998. He's a graduate and fellow of the Academy of Excellence in Local Government. He served as president of the Maryland Municipal League from 2008 to 2009. While the mayor of Gaithersburg, Councilmember Cass listed among his most significant accomplishments was the fact that through thoughtful and innovative planning, the city continued to deliver outstanding services to its residents without doing any debt for the city. Councilman graduated with a bachelor's degree in public administration from the University of Maryland. He is a lifelong resident of Gaithersburg. This part I didn't know. You were an owner of Wolfson's department store in Old Town. That started with your grandparents in 1918.
Yep.
I actually was there one time. It was family operated until 2013. Councilman and his wife Sally have 2 children. And with that, I would again like to thank everyone for being here. And Mr. President, if you'd be so kind as to address the audience. And we are currently at 503.
Well, thank you very, very much for inviting me. I think with your introduction, and you know more about me than I know about me, but that's always fun to do as well. And it's always good seeing everybody, but especially Commander Frank. It's been a while since we've actually seen each other in person, but you were correct, Mark, in your introductions. He is everywhere or on Zoom, right? So, but anyhow, thank you all very, very much. You know, and I'll get into some direct questions about what you all do as well. But this budget that we just went through, as you mentioned, I've been involved for longer than a couple of weeks, and this was the most unbelievable budget and event that I've ever in my life encountered. And I could pass a lie detector. I say this in front of Commander Frank. I could pass a lie detector test on that. I truly could. You know, the county had never done it this way before. We never had to do it this way before. And it was certainly before my time as well. And that includes, it was truly a historic event. Usually the county goes through committees for the budget and for other issues as well. This one, we couldn't do it. We normally, everything was committee of the whole. You had nine council members discussing every topic. Where our Zoom meetings went from 9:30 in the morning till 6 at night, and you know, I mean, it was just interesting, to say the least. But we kept saying we're going to do a continuity of services. We knew we didn't have the revenue that we were going to have, that we needed. We knew that we were going to have expenses beyond anything we'd ever dreamed of. COVID-19 had changed our world just like it did each of you and every business, and we were concerned. We didn't want to do layoffs or furloughs for our employees, so we just kept literally plugging along. By charter, we have to pass a budget by June 1st, and we just passed it last Thursday. We've met our charter, the goal, what we needed to do by the charter, and that's what we're doing. But I announced then, and I announce now, the budget is not over. As soon as we can get ourselves back on track, as soon as we know what we're doing, as soon as we can figure out what revenues we really do or don't have, we're gonna do supplementals along the way. This budget will not end with the vote. It certainly passed the way the charter said it had to be done, and we did have a vote, but it's not going to be finished. So it's just a real concern of all of ours. The federal government did send $183 million for COVID-related expenses, and we've spent considerable money already on that. It has to be directly related to COVID, and we had various grants and food help and rental assistance along the way, so that we can be of assistance. The grants themselves, I just had a seminar before. We've already spent or allocated $51 million of the $183 million, which has to last us till the end of the year. But of course, we have a lot of need. So we're working towards it. But let me go through some of the areas that I know that have asked questions on and are interested in about the landlords from the lifelines that they've received, and what is it? Do you want me to actually read the questions, Mark? Do you?
These are the ones that I forwarded to you.
Yes.
Okay, if you want, I can read it, and then if you'd like to
Okay.
answer.
Why don't we?
Okay.
However, it's your show.
Okay.
It's
No
your
problem.
Brady Bunch. So please go right ahead.
Okay. Landlords have been thrown a variety of lifelines from the federal, state, and local governments to assure that renters do not become homeless because they cannot afford to pay their rent. So landlords cannot pay the bills, which can lead some folks homeless. Associations that are master metered for utilities have virtually the same operating expenses as landlords. Approximately 99% of the monies collected to pay condominium expenses are secured from condominium fees. So if the condominium fee is not collected, the association cannot pay the bills, which can leave some folks not only homeless, but a bankrupt community whereby they lose the home for which they have made and possibly fully paid off their mortgage. What federal, state, or local programs, if any, are available to associations to secure relief related to non-payment of condominium fees? That's a mouthful.
It is, and I think Vicki, here I'm sitting here, and I think Vicki knows more about this than I do. So I always like to start out when I have an expert in the room. I always tell the story that a fellow that lived through the Johnstown flood, he figured that he knew everything about floods. He was just a flood expert, and he dies and he goes to heaven, and St. Peter meets him at the pearly gates, and he says, look, in order to get here, you have to give a speech about something that you know about. And so what is it you would like to give? And he says, well, I'm going to give a speech about floods. He says, I lived through the Johnstown flood. And the good Lord looks at him and says, well, that's fine, but you realize Noah is in the room. And so that's exactly, Vicki, I'm not comparing you to Noah. Don't get me wrong here. But she certainly is an expert on this topic. But let me tell you what I know. And I know that Vicki knows more. And so if she wants to jump in, but Mary Geist from my office has been working with Delegate Bonnie Cullison about an issue about the relief effort. We've been working on stakeholders to develop a relief program that addresses the immediate financial needs of the communities. And I hope to be able to share more specific information soon, but we're working with Bonnie and to see what we can do. And of course, we're working with Department of Housing and Community Affairs as well to see what we can come up with. But it's a problem, and we are aware of it, and we need to work together to try to come up with some solutions.
Mr. Katz, I also have Frank. He would like to add in on
Please.
that too. Okay.
Sure. And hi, it's Frank Demeray, DHCA, and the challenge that's identified in the question is a very serious challenge. There are not any direct programs or sources of funds that existed to serve that interest prior to this emergency. We haven't identified anything at this point where loans to multifamily property owners are given certain relief by federal government regulations. Loans to individual homeowners are given certain relief, but the obligations of the associations is in a unclear world in terms of what type of funding, but as a county, we are looking at what's available and what's possible. So this is something we take very seriously.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Right, we're gonna do 3 more questions for the council president. Then I'm going to go into a presentation. It'll take about 15 minutes. It's going to tell you where we are, what to do, where to look for things, and how to get some answers. Then I'm going to turn it over to Tom regarding what the Green Bank has to offer as far as for associations. Then we will open it up, and we plan on having the rest of it for Q&A. I currently have about 50 questions in the Q&A at the moment. So we're getting them and we'll address them. And Jeanette, thank you. I'm going to pass that along. Ms. Richmond says that her community association successfully applied for the payroll protection plan. So it's working. The question 2, what action in Montgomery County what actions is Montgomery County taking to assure that those associations that cannot pay their utility bills do not have their gas, electric, or water, sewer cut off? That virtually condemns the community and makes all residents homeless. Further, what actions in Montgomery County taking to assure that the associations that cannot pay their utility bills are able to negotiate a workable plan to forgive or pay back the delinquent fees?
We truly are following the issue closely. I've been in touch, my office has been in touch with WSSC and with Washington Gas, and their current shut-off suspensions include condo associations. I've also confirmed with PEPCO that they're further extending suspension of service disconnections, waiving new late fees, and reconnecting customers who were previously disconnected. Their policies, which are extended to all customers, including condo associations, will now be in place until at least July 1st. I also expect that the issue of payment plans for delinquent fees is going to be taken up by the Housing Mission Area, the Common Ownership Community Distress Subgroup, within the county's new COVID recovery organization structure that just started last week, at the end of last week. And I will continue to monitor the situation as we move into recovery. Please keep my office informed. We're there to serve, and that is the most important part of this whole thing. I think is to keep the lines of communication open. We need to hear from each other.
Absolutely, thank you. Which actions is Montgomery County taking to assure that its own agencies are not creating financial burdens related to county inspections that the associations cannot bear during and immediately following this crisis?
Great question. The county executive is reviewing existing county fees, and I'm happy to share your specific concerns with him. So there again, we need the communication. Any emails that you have, or suggestions that you have, please send them to me, or if you're sending them to someone else, please copy me so I'm aware of your suggestions. Currently, all permits, licenses, and registration renewal fees are extended to 30 days after the end of the state of emergency, consistent with the governor's executive order. And then upon application for an inspection, for example, if it's a pool, which I guess is a whole nother issue at this point, or new permits, fees would apply. So that is where we are at the moment for that. But there again, any information, anything that you, emails you send, please copy my office as well.
Okay. The last one, what actions is Montgomery County taking to assure that the reopening of the courts will give priority to the large condominium assessment delinquencies? That one I can answer by simply this document here. It's about 15 pages talking about circuit court, district court, and the appellate court, and what the opening plan is for them, right, and what priorities they're going to have for taking the cases and anything that's in the backlog, as well as addressing everything from delinquency assessment down. I expect that will be up on the CCOC site sometime by Saturday when we have this thing up. So it's a lot of info. Yeah, David.
There's a phase 6 schedule of reopening of the courts.
Right, that's what I got.
15 pages, and the bottom line on it, for regular district court collection cases, which are heard in district court, that will not resume until August 31st, 2020. So the district court reopens July 20th for limited matters, but they do not include general civil dockets. General civil dockets, which is where these cases are typically heard, will not resume till August 31st. Jury trials do not resume in the state of Maryland till October 5th, 2020. The clerk's office reopens June 5th. Right now, we're what we call a paper jurisdiction. Anything that's filed is filed on paper. The clerks have to process it, have to issue a paper summons, have to issue a wage garnishment and the like. That will resume on June 5th, so you'll start getting the paper to serve these people that may not be paying their fees, but you're not going to get a trial on it till after August 31st. And when that happens, there'll be such a backlog, any new case probably won't be heard until the 1st of next year.
Right. And the July 20 date you're talking about isn't a hard start. They're
20,
saying if they can get those, right, they're going to do 2 weeks.
Criminal cases, it's not a civil docket. The general civil dockets won't resume till August 31st.
Right. They're in a curve to figure out how they're going to handle it too. And that's what that 2 weeks is.
You're going to have to wear a mask, and they have the right to examine you when you come in the door. That's all being worked out by the courts.
Right. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go through it's about a 14-page presentation, which will also be up on our site, not to mention the one for the Green Bank. So both of these we're about to do will be there. Again, please, if you have Q&A, type them in. We're going to handle them, whoever sent it first, and then we're going to work our way down, okay? Let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay. Again, welcome. We appreciate everyone being here. We have a very, very good panel that is ready to answer questions that need to be answered as far as much we can talk about with COVID. Not to mention, there have been changes even as recent as the last 3 hours. Any questions you have, feel free to call either 311 or 240-777-0311. Visit the CCOC website at www.montgomerycountymd.gov/CCOC. Look at the banner at the top and it will direct you to many links regarding COVID. Now, the county executive signed the order for the stay at home. Understand, we're going into phase 1 starting Monday, but prudent judgment says we don't want to be running out right now. The issue of gatherings is still limited. None of that has changed. We are just slowly rolling. So please, we don't want to be like what happened up north at the moment. You want to make sure that you are not congregating in groups of 10. You want to make sure that you are social distancing. Wash your hands. Yes, you wear a face covering in public or public space in a building. That was continued in the executive's order. He reiterated it this afternoon. So that has not changed. And like I said, it reiterates from the governor of Maryland. Now, to give a preempt, because I know there's a lot of people asking this question. Yes, the state of Maryland opened up pools. Montgomery County has chosen not to do that. We'll get a little bit more in detail to that shortly, but absolutely, pools are to stay closed. Now, recommendations regarding board and annual meetings until the event is over. What we're saying is that the associations hold electronic meetings. You must give proper notice under your governing documents. When you give that notice, you must give notice to the homeowner as well as the board or the committee if it's a board meeting or a committee meeting. ratify what you did in the next in-person meeting, just so you have it documented correctly. Regarding annual meetings, you can have an annual meeting at any time that you would normally like to, including the budget adoption. The issue is not the meeting, the issue is the election. What we're saying is that currently, because we have the mandate of no more than 10, you're going to need to do it via electronic means. You have to make sure that you've given proper notice to the membership, that you have the availability to nominate people from the floor, and the availability to inspect the ballots if they are requested or if they're challenged. That is going to be difficult in most cases. If you can't do that, what we are suggesting is just postpone the annual election part of the meeting. Ask the directors that are staying on, if they're not opposed, would they stay on until you can have your election? Document it in the meeting. If the director is resigning, appoint a replacement to fill the position until you can have the next annual election. Please do not have 25 people attend an annual meeting in person. That is going to create problems. And we already have challenges on it now. You must follow these rules. And any questions, as I said, we have from the Office of the Attorney General, they're here. And I believe Karen spoke with us at our last meeting, and I thought we were all in agreement. So please, folks, please keep that in mind. You also probably want to do your organizational meeting immediately after the annual meeting so you can appoint your officers. That way you can get your business in hand done. Now, as David said, courts are going to do a slow roll open. We'll have those documents for you. They'll be posted up on the CCOC's website. Same thing with foreclosures. They are stayed at the moment. And again, everything is there. Now, if a homeowner comes to the association and they're telling you they're having an issue, first thing they want to do is contact the lender. Let them know what's going on. If they have, excuse me, a Fannie Mae loan, the link is right there on how to get a hold of Fannie Mae and also Freddie Mac. In the event there are questions where you can go directly to them, they can help you. If you're encountering problems and the lender is a national lender, you'll call 855-411-2372. If the lender is a state lender or a local bank, the Maryland Division of Financial Regulation, 410-230-6077. You fall behind on your assessment, please contact the board or management immediately to let them know that you have a problem so that you can work toward a resolution. The worst thing you want to do is to not pay your assessment. Now you're going to get additional fees charged to you. So please communicate with the association. Make sure boards, please get that out to your members to let them know what to do. There are temporary relief for the borrowers under the federal backed loans, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, VA, USDA loans. You can apply for that forbearance agreement and you can ask to have it extended an additional 180 days. So the initial agreement would be 180. You can ask to have it extended an additional 180, even if you are delinquent. So please avail yourself of the resources. Swimming pools. As of right now, the status of Montgomery County is that they are not going to open. If you are going to attempt to reopen at a later time, please contact licensing to schedule your inspection now, because there are roughly 1,200 associations in Montgomery County. Let's say there are 800 of them that have a pool. You're gonna have 800 people at one time wanting to get approval. So if you believe that it's gonna be short-lived, do that. My personal opinion is at this point, I don't think we're gonna see them open for a while. There is so much out there that you have to do, from maintaining the clubhouses, maintaining the chairs. What happens, heaven forbid, someone needs resuscitation? There are too many unanswered questions. Get with your attorney and decide if this is something you want to do or not. Then let the membership know now what your plan is. But if you are planning on opening at some point, get in line with licensing now. Cleaning. Please make sure that you are posting the signs regarding cleaning and disinfecting in the multi-units. Those signs are on the website, and you can go to the main site, www.montgomerycountymd.gov, DHCA or CCOC. They're in several languages. We have flyers that you can use. Please make sure that you're doing your due diligence to maintain that. The commission itself was established in 1991. We have several functions that we are to do. We advise the county executive and the council. We promote public awareness. We provide educational programs and technical assistance, and we resolve disputes between residents and their associations. If a complaint is not resolved at the investigator level, they will attempt to have it mediated. If that does not happen, then it will be sent to the commission, where the commission will decide if we have jurisdiction. At that point, the commission at our monthly meeting will decide to take the case and proceed to a hearing. The commissioners are 8 owners or residents of common ownership communities. There are 7 professionals. They are affiliated with common ownership. They can be attorneys, they can be property managers, realtors, developers, etc. We also have panel chairs who are retired judges or practicing attorneys, and they act as administrative judges to decide the case. And I would like to take a moment, because I believe we have about 9 commissioners in the audience. We have several on the panel. I want to take a moment to say thank you for your service. We're all volunteers, folks, and a lot of them put in a lot of hours. So please understand that when a commissioner comes in to talk to you, understand we're there to help. So if you have questions, contact us. 311. If for some reason you can't get to a commissioner, to an office staff, they should be responding to you within 2 business days maximum. If something happens and they don't, please ask 311 to contact us. And one of the commissioners will be back to you within 24 hours to find out what's going on and get that problem resolved, and it gets to where it needs to get to. We meet the first Wednesday of every month at 7 o'clock on the 5th floor of the Department of Housing and Community Affairs. We're at 1401 Rockville Pike. We're no longer on Maryland Avenue. The agendas are posted. Everything that you need is there. If you would like to attend one of our virtual meetings, absolutely go to the DHCA main page, scroll down about 6 inches, and you will see the link to the calendar. Click the calendar for the meeting, and it will give you the information you need for the commission meeting. And feel free to listen in if you would like. There are plenty of resources out there. You have the DHCA links, you have the Montgomery County MD.gov links, you have the Fannie Mae loan forbearance, the Freddie Mac loan forbearance, the Small Business Administration, and also HUD. All these links will be shown up on this document on our website. Please use them. Resources are out there. We don't want you to struggle. Do what you need to do and contact who you need to contact. Contact us. We'll get you to where you need to get to if you don't know who to contact. Now, at this point, I would ask if anybody has any questions, but I'm going to go into Tom's presentation, and as soon as he is done, we're going to open that up to the questions, and we will, from that point, field it to the panel. So bear with me 1 second while I go into my screen share.
Hey, Mark, while you do that, Mark, you thanked all the commissioners for our service. Let us thank you for putting together this presentation. This took a lot of effort and initiative on your part, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Second that.
Thank you, ma'am.
While you're doing that, Mark, you've gotten a couple people during your presentation that asked you to make this PowerPoint presentation available.
It will be.
I assume it'll be posted on our website soon so people could view it, correct?
Absolutely. My goal is to have it up by tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Made the comment about the courts being closed for the hearing of cases till August 31st, which would include any type of civil injunction matter that might be filed by a homeowner or condominium association. But our organization, the CCOC, is still holding virtual monthly meetings, and we've conducted a few hearings by virtual platforms. So we are not closed. The CCOC is still open to hear disputes. So if and when they get filed, we're not delaying the presentation of those or the hearings as much as possible. We're going to try to use modern technology to hold those hearings.
Thank you.
You got it. So
Okay. You good, Frank? You good there, Tom?
I got it. So you're
Okay,
in control,
sorry.
right?
Sorry for the problem.
All right. So I'll tell you when to go ahead. But
Okay.
Mark, thanks for inviting the Green Bank onto this. And I think this is a real important training and an expression of interest in supporting the common ownership communities. The common ownership communities have been an important area that the Green Bank is focused on in the course of the 3 years we've been sort of operating, and we'll go through some of the activities we've been working to support them. And I would just sort of, recognize that a lot of the questions and a lot of the comments to date have been, reflective of the current environment we're in and the struggling of the kind of common ownership communities to deal with, the personal issues of the residents there and making their assessments and trying to keep their communities afloat. I think that's an important and valuable sort of activity that each community should go through. The Green Bank, as I'll walk through here, I think one would, our sort of effort here is maybe to think more about how we might be able to think about emerging as a stronger community as you come out of this, and the ideas put forward here might be ones in which the communities might begin to work on or think towards as they're thinking about how they could create even stronger communities as they emerge. So I'll walk through this and speak to what the Green Bank has to offer and has been doing, and so some ideas that the associations can think about in terms of activities to undertake and emerge even stronger. But the Green Bank, we were created in 2015. The Montgomery County Council, its wisdom, established the Montgomery County Green Bank as an entity to help support and accelerate energy efficiency, renewable energy investment in the county, with the idea that the greater energy savings that are had by residents, by businesses, the stronger those organizations and communities and homeowners can be by taking advantage of more efficient systems, less energy usage systems. But one thing I just sort of always say is, even though bank is in the name, we are not really a bank. We don't take deposits or anything. Our job is actually to use the capital that Mark mentioned of over 20 million from the county to actually work with other financial institutions out there to create financing vehicles that help accelerate that energy efficiency, renewable energy in the county.
I'm sorry, Tom,
Yep.
I'm sorry. Somebody's asked if you could speak up just a little louder. Do we have
Sure.
a problem? Okay, sorry.
No problem. Let's see if I get the speaker a little bit closer to my mouth. Is that any better? So, Vicki, can you hear me? Thumbs up.
You're good.
You're good? Okay. All right, so we go to the next slide, Mark. So, where has our focus been on helping the common ownership communities out there? And there's been several areas that we've given concentration to. One, we recognize that many of these communities were conversions in the 70s and in the 80s, and they're facing aged and inefficient infrastructure. Their systems may be dating from the 70s or 80s, or maybe they're 20 or 30 years old, in which those systems are using up a significantly more amount of energy consumption to provide the heat, the cooling, the lighting in the communities, and that continuing to operate that way is certainly burdening the operating expenses of those communities. And so, and many of them are facing the decisions of either maintaining those systems and expending a lot of money in terms of just maintaining an old system, and or having to decide how to handle a replacement of those aged infrastructure. So that's one of the areas that we've identified with the common ownership. The second plays into that, which is how can they sort of reduce their operating costs. Your assessments are paying in many regards for that, at least the common ownership community, a common owner, common areas of those communities. So that's a part of the operating cost. But in others that are master metered and the systems support each of the units, there's a burden there that the assessments are covering all of the operating costs of the utilities for those common areas. So how is it that efforts can be undertaken to reduce those operating costs, which then translates into managing the assessments, keeping them from having to escalate because of the increasing operating costs. The third is, maybe this is very pertinent to the current time, is that a lot of those older systems are not good at terms of keeping a strong and good and healthy indoor air quality. Many of the properties may find that they have air infiltration occurring. They may not be as well insulated, and therefore they may not be as good in the indoor air quality and the health and comfort of the homes that people are living in. And so the effort around introducing energy efficiency and clean energy is to actually create healthier living environments for the occupants. And then the last thing that we look to is, as you think about energy efficiency improvements, they're one of the few capital improvements that a community can undertake in which there's actually an economic benefit, because you undertake that improvement, you reduce your energy costs, you actually have gain in the operating expenses, and you can use that gain to cover the funding necessary to do those improvements, save your reserves, and use those reserves for capital improvements that don't have an economic payback, and allow your assessments to maintain steady, cover the cost of those improvements, build your reserves for the other capital costs that you'll have. So next slide. So how does this get accomplished? And Mark, I'm going to ask you to click through in a moment here, but so just going to give you the idea of who the players are to help sort of pull this off. So first, you've got yourselves, the common ownership communities. You've got common areas. Some of you have master meters that systems cover all of what's happening in the units. And it's the common ownership community that pays the commercial utility bill. The residents may have their own residential utility bill. That's a different sort of a strategy to covering those. But for the part of the common ownership community that has the commercial utility, that's what the assessment is going into to cover. So if you sit there and you're the common ownership community, now click forward one, Mark. The other player in this is what would be the energy performance contractors. these are the people that are out there in the community that have been working for years in the area of energy performance improvement. They have relationships with PEPCO. They understand the PEPCO incentives and rebate environment. They understand how to diagnose the systems that you do have, where their current conditions are, identify how do you know, what kind of improved systems are out there that could replace those, and then what kind of benefits those improvements have, both from, you know, an energy savings benefit and environmental benefit, and also, you know, how might those play into what PEPCO may have to offset costs. So if you go into the third one, Mark, and that brings in the utility. PEPCO out there has rebates and incentive programs that are available, and I know there's a, you know, there's an issue out there about who can access them, and not everybody in the communities can access them. But, you know, right now the majority of parties that can access them are the commercial utility, the party that pays the commercial bill, and the resident who might pay the residential portion of the bill. But if you're not in one of those two places, that often makes it difficult to get that inside the unit. I know, Vicki, that's a big sort of issue for you. But generally, you know, if you're working and they're doing the improvements on the things where you have the commercial utility bill, PEPCO offers substantial rebates and incentives to cover some of the costs associated with that. The energy performance contractor is well versed in that, and they're actually a very good tool for going after and pulling those resources in. So you start out with the idea of where your improvement's going, what benefits that can bring in terms of energy savings, what rebates and incentives can come in to offset that cost, and then you're left with potentially a balance of what needs to be funded. And so if you go to the last piece, this brings in the green bank. Click one more, Mark. There you go. So, so if you're left with a need to cover the balance of the costs, this is where the partnership of the Green Bank with its lender partners can bring affordable, flexible financing to the table to help fill that gap, where we look to see what the energy savings are that you're going to get and how that can help support the debt service of to cover the costs of finishing the project. The Green Bank is not the lender of record. We've got several lenders who work with Revere Bank, Ascentium Capital, Latino Economic Development Corporation. Those are really the lenders of record, but the financing they offer is a more beneficial one that you would find if you went to them directly, because the Green Bank is actually standing behind that lender and helping them take some of the risk off of that loan, and therefore they can offer more favorable terms. So if we go to the next one. So for PEPCO, there are a number of energy savings programs they offer. These are the ones that are at the commercial meter side. They've got a variety of different incentive programs. They call the existing buildings or prescriptive. So that's if they come up with something that is not that's the sort of standard equipment that they have specific rebates for that equipment. If your equipment doesn't fit the prescriptive, then they have a custom one in which they will look at the specific equipment that's being done, and they'll decide and identify the rebates to help support that custom application. There's a nice program out there that many of you should actually might want to take a look at. They call it the Building Tune-Up Program. That's where, in fact, the energy performance contractor can come out. The PEPCO will cover the cost, and a good part of the cost for doing the building tune-up. Because if you think of it, it's your systems are very similar to your car. If you just let it go for 10 years without touching it, the efficiency of the car to deliver the horsepower is reduced. But if you go in and you get it tuned up, you actually keep the performance of the car firing at the best efficiency it can. And that's what the building tune-up is. The energy performance contractors come out and they basically tune your systems back up to close to getting it to what it was when it came out of the factory. Now, 35-year-old systems, not exactly the best one for the building tune-up, but if you've got 5, 6-year-old systems, the building tune-up is a very good approach, and the PEPCO will help pay for that because it builds the energy efficiency again. There is a business instant discount program that if you have a commercial meter, you can actually go and get specific discounts. A lot of them are around the lighting. You can get lighting to change out, LED lights that they'll pay for. You put them in, and now you've reduced your utility bill just by virtue of changing out your lights. There's a small business one which really doesn't apply here. And then they have combined heat and power which is a generation system that, given these buildings are occupied 24/7, you're drawing on electricity all the time, sometimes a combined heat and power, which is sort of a microgrid type generation in the building, can help reduce your energy costs as well. It also creates resiliency because if ever there was a power shortage, the combined heat and power acts sort of as a backup generator as well. So Pepco's got a lot of programs. This is where you really need the energy performance contractor to help you think those out and help guide you into which are the best. So if you go to the next. Mark, move it forward one. There. Oh, back up one. There. So just to give you a feel that we've sort of been working in this area and, you know, have had some successes and in terms of our investment. We worked on one Tacoma Overlook condominiums, which is over on New Hampshire Avenue. Had a very large project that they'd been working on, at $1.5 million. They were addressing their heating and the boilers. Their controls were aged, both in the main part of the building as well as in each of the units. And they were looking to create this energy generation in order to have its own resilient system and manage the load that they were having since they were 24/7 draw. It's a building in which all the systems served all of the units, so that replacing the boilers and the controls had an impact on each of the units because each of the units were fed by those systems. So their assessments covered all of the utility payments except their cable TV. And so every time their assessment was being paid, it was funneling down to pay their utilities. So this was a perfect opportunity. By changing those systems, everybody in the whole building would benefit. The energy performance contractor was able to get about $240,000 of rebates and grants in order to offset that cost. So they were able to understand which of the programs to tap and bring those resources in. So it took it from a $1.5 million to about a $1.25 million project. And that's where the Green Bank came in. The energy savings that were generated from the improvements were able to support a $840,000 loan for 12 years, so that the savings itself was going to be able to service the debt. And then they were only needing to tap about $400,000 or so of reserves that they had. They weren't able to tap them immediately. This is where the Green Bank flexibility came in. We were actually able to provide them a short-term bridge loan so that they could move forward on the project immediately, rather than waiting. It was going to take about 6 months to 8 months for them to get the resources needed to move forward. So we're able to sort of step in, quickly solve that bridge, and then this project is now, given COVID, it's a few months behind because getting on site has caused a bit of a, has delayed some of the work. So that's the first. A second one, which we're just now in the process of sort of moving forward on. It was a smaller condominium. They actually had a site lighting project that they were replacing 60 plus of the lights on site. And they were looking for a loan in order to sort of cover that project. It was about a $43,000 loan. We worked with the condominium. We worked with the contractor to pull this together. It'll be a 3-year loan. The energy savings from the change out of the lights services that loan. So after 3 years' time, the loan will be paid off, and the lighting is going to have at least a 15-year life to it. So after that, each month, the association, I think it was about $1,400 a month of benefit that they will see just from the change out of the lighting. And then lastly, we're working with one more smaller condominium, 50-unit condominium, in which they have a $600,000 project that they're working on, turning out their cooling, their controls, their hot water, and piping replacement. They've been working with a engineer to establish the project. They're out seeking bids, and we're in the middle of underwriting that in order to identify the amount that can be covered, which should be at least half of the project. The piping is a sort of add-on project. It's not necessarily related to the energy project, any portion of the project. But in each of these instances, I think we got through the contacts by talking to the commission at some of these trainings that the commission has had. But also because of our specific focus on the common ownership, we've been sort of purposely reaching out to them. If you go to the last slide, I'll just talk to the last level of activity. the work we've been doing has identified sort of where the needs are for the common ownership communities, but it's not as informative as we would like it to be. So we actually are taking upon ourselves to launch a pilot technical assistance program in which we are using the energy performance contractors. We're pulling them in and we're detailing them to a select, we can only do about 4 to 8 properties. Right now we've got 4 properties that have been identified to work with to test this out, in which the energy performance contractors will go to the properties, talk with the boards, talk with the property managers, identify what the current conditions are, help them understand what their improvement strategies could be to increase the energy efficiency. And they're going to lay out the plan. Okay, what could be the improvements look like? What could be the incentives and rebates? What will be the energy savings? And then we can sort of look to see what kind of a financing game plan could be there to help them implement. Doesn't mean that they'd have to act on any of it, but it would help be informative to the boards. They could take it in a phased approach, but it will help the communities and it help us understand how communities look at projects, how financing can work with some of these, and help us create a little bit broader of a structure and a product and a strategy for working with the community. So we're at the very start of this. It's just launching this month, and in this next 60 days, we'll have a good feel for it and the outcomes. But it's going to help. It'll be presented to the boards, help them give information about what they could do, how it could be undertaken, and then it'll help us bring that information back to the commission and the common ownership communities about what we learned and what other opportunities the Green Bank might have in order to support these communities. So again, this is about sort of thinking about how to emerge stronger and take advantage of some of the time here to do that. The one thing that's not on here, and I just want to sort of recognize that many of the communities are home ownership associations in which they're townhomes and they're individual units out there. And we do have products that can help those individuals as well. We just launched it. It's called the Clean Energy Advantage. It's a residential lending program. So if you own your own home and you're in a townhouse type structure, you could actually, or a single family home within a home ownership association, and you're looking to take on your own improvements of your systems, we do have a residential product we just launched with a couple other lenders that's available to help support the financing of those as well. So I just wanted to note that too, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Okay, we're going to go into Q&A for everyone. We have about 20 of them here, and currently there are 75 in the Q&A slot. So I'm going to take them in order. First one, I'm going to field to the commander. This is coming from Sasha. She wants to know if residents come back to their home in their condominium after traveling from another state or country during the stay-at-home order, do they have to quarantine in Montgomery County? Let me unmute you here. I thought you were, sorry. There you go. You just muted yourself.
We keep hitting the same button.
I know.
We keep hitting the same button. So the quarantine is not a police action. I want to be clear on that. That
Right.
has to do with Health and Human Services and the recommendation there. And because we don't normally deal with that, I'm going to have to look that up. So if you give me like 2 minutes,
Okay.
I can get you an answer on that. Normally what it was, and the reason I say that is because we're having orders lifted from a bunch of, from both the county level and the state level. And it was 14 days. And give me 2 minutes and I'll get back to you on that.
And then there's a second part of it. If the county residents leave their home to go to a second home during the stay-at order, can they do that? And my
they can.
would be, yeah.
Yes, they can do that. Now they'll have to abide by whatever jurisdiction they're going to, whatever restrictions they happen to still have. And again, I'll say it's fluctuating a great deal because a lot of people are opening right now. And whereas, like for example, North Carolina, if you're heading to the Outer Banks, before it was a 14-day quarantine. And I believe with their lifting, they're changing that up too. So you just need to check with the state sites are very good state sites are a good start, and then county sites, like again, as we're seeing here in Montgomery County, we're doing things a little bit different because of the number of COVID cases we have. We're being cautious, and it's a good idea. So start with the state, then check the local county sites. And as I've been looking around, there's great information. But give me a minute, and I'll see if I can't find an answer on the other issue.
Appreciate it. And then I'm coming to Stacy in just a second, but I am going to unmute Mitra. I just saw her come in. If you'd like to introduce yourself to the folks once I get to, for some reason, it doesn't want to unmute you. There you go.
Hi.
Hi, welcome.
How are you? This is Mitra Pedoim, and I'm the new director for Department of Permitting Services, Montgomery County, Maryland. Thank you for inviting me. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Stacy, here comes your question. I think this one's up. Are you unmuting while I'm unmuting? What's going on?
Your hands off it.
Somebody's messing with me. Phil, get off of that.
So when you hit,
There you go.
yeah, when you hit unmute, it brings up a thing asking if it's okay that you unmute me. So I think that's what the problem is.
Okay, here's yours. Can residents and condominium associations have contractors deliver replacement furniture and move the old one out? And are we still calling for essential doing that?
So again, and I think the commander's looking those items up. My understanding is that we are still under the stay-at-home orders with essential aspects only. But I think at the end of the day, that is something that each association, board of directors with their management and their attorney make a decision on what they're allowing and not allowing. But my understanding is the stay-at-home order is still in place in Maryland, even though that there are certain things that you can now leave besides, before it was just doctors and pharmacy, and now it's you can go to restaurants outside and things like that. But the essential businesses, my understanding is it's still in place.
Okay, thanks. One of these I can answer. It's from Tom. He wants to know, are the board directors trainings going to be digital? They're already online now. You can do the director training. Simply go to the CCOC website at www.montgomerycountymd.gov/CCOC. Look to the upper left icon where it says training and hit more information. The first line down is going to say register for director training. You can go through there and put the appropriate information in, and it will link you straight into the website. The good thing about it is if you happen to decide you need to go do something and you sign off, when you sign on, it will remember exactly where you were and put you right back into that link. And you can choose which chapter you want to do at what order. I would recommend, you have to start with the intro, but I'd recommend 1 through 5. You don't want to do 5 then go to 1. It could create some problems. And
Mark, if I can comment on that, you and I used to do the in-person training that has been suspended.
correct.
I don't know if we'll go back to doing it via Zoom or some virtual method. If that's his question, we haven't started that. Maybe we'll consider it. I know Stacy's also helped with that. But for now, the only training is the one that's available online.
Correct. This one was specifically digital, what he was asking, but we did have one that we had to do in the virtual world, Zoom, because of the technicalities with 10B and something they had with us that we needed to take care of without, I think the commissioners can read between the lines on that. And we needed to make sure it was satisfied or it could create some problems in about 30 days. So we took care of that one for them. Ms. Karen, for you. You knew I was going to do this to you. The question: what guidance do you have for adapting elections and annual meetings when we're not able to meet in person for the 17,354th time?
Well, it's important to make sure that you're following all the statutes and the governing documents, and you are making sure that you are giving notice to everyone and that everyone has the ability to join the meeting without being an in-person meeting. In addition, if what you are doing is trying to do elections, as was pointed out in the PowerPoint presentation, what's important is to make sure that you can still do nominations from the floor, and to make sure that you can still be able to see ballots after the fact should someone challenge the election.
Okay, thank you. I might have another one here. This is from Teresa, and she said it is imperative that I do it tonight. So it says, a big concern facing our community now is that we are unable to hold our board of directors elections due to the current guidance and restrictions the CCOC has placed on our communities due to COVID-19. Our federal, state, and local governments are conducting business virtually. It would not be impossible for a community board election, it would not be impossible for a community board election to be held and verified, nor would it be expensive to conduct. Who do we contact to get this rectified? And if you want, I can start it and let you chime in if you want, or you can start and I'll go in from there.
No, go ahead.
Okay. If you're looking for assistance on outside vendors to help you with the election, absolutely call us, 311, tell them you need to speak to a CCOC rep who can help you with places that can conduct that election for you electronically. Make sure that they have you give them everything they need so they can take care of it, and they can make it so that if there is a nomination from the floor, they can account for it in that count because they're the ones holding all the ballots. Okay.
And there's nothing to prevent a meeting. It's merely a matter of you have to make sure that you're following the governing documents and the statutes when you're doing it.
Absolutely.
Karen, so we have a board that what they're doing is they're doing the meeting electronically, and they're using an electronic balloting company so that because their documents say that it has to be secret ballot. So they're using that, but there's a print off of so that someone could see the votes. And then the nominations from the floor, what the association is doing is that if anyone says that they can't vote electronically, they're allowing 1 to 2 days for people to turn in their ballot after the annual meeting to be counted. And then the election results are then announced 2 days after the meeting. And then for nominations from the floor, the balloting company is able to do the ballots for anyone who did not do it already. And they can change their ballots as well, but they can do it right there at the meeting. So if they do all of that, then you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have one regarding polls, or several, but this is kind of the summary of them all. And then I think Commander might have my answer for me on his thing. This one says, and this is from Leisha, as an HOA president, we're looking for guidance on all things regarding the use of our association pool. I've seen the CDC aquatic venue information online, but will the county be issuing more specific rules? Things like lifeguards giving CPR, cleaning, social distancing, liability if someone gets COVID-19. Excuse me. We are looking for guidance on these issues from the county.
Would you like me to jump
Yes,
in
sir.
on that one?
Thank you.
At this point, the pools are not open. The order that was done literally hours ago did not open any of the pools. The state did, but the county has not.
Right. Thank you, sir.
And Mark, if I can just jump in, I actually had several meetings with heads of pool management, pool companies today. Part of the problem is once Montgomery County opens, there are some guidelines that Maryland Health Department put out. But it's between the pool company, who should be working with the association board members and with the managers and with legal counsel. There's a bunch of things that have to be done, and the pool companies just said that they just can't possibly do it. They can't control the crowds or tell people get out. So the association's gonna have to think about who they're gonna hire to do that part of it. The lifeguards are there to watch the pool and make sure that nobody drowns. And they have their own set of PPEs and things that they have to do, but the association has to do other things. So I would say even if Montgomery County at some point is ready to open, the boards and associations and managers should realize that it's probably going to be a 30-day plan before you can actually open the pool after the county says that you can.
Thank you. Commander.
Hello. So I'll give you the honest answer.
Okay.
The reopenings are coming fast, and they are, a lot of things are catching up. My guidance would be this on Montgomery County. Our order still isn't lifted. It will be. There's a date in place, and we're going to evaluate those 14-day quarantine. I would say, as a good citizen, if you're coming from an area that was coming back into Montgomery County, we should be quarantining for 14 days and making sure, or again, there's ways to get tests for antibodies and things of that nature. Looking to do that privately if you want, like LabQuest and things like that, if you want to cut that 14 days short. And then also, I'm sure as the county executive and the team comes up with addressing all of the issues with reopening, we'll get better guidance. But for right now, stick with the 14-day quarantine and just pay attention to it and understand the symptoms that go with COVID-19 and make sure we protect our neighbors and our friends.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Tom, we're going to have one for you in a second. It's directed to you. I'm going to give it to you now so you can think about it while I'm going to knock a couple of these out real fast. We're up to about 88 questions. It says, has COVID-19 made your lending partners more skittish about doing deals in this climate? It's coming from John. So if you think about that a second. From Michael, is there any guidance from Montgomery County on community pool openings and safety measures? I think we just did that. You can't open right now. When they do open, I am quite sure that there will be guidance there on what you can do, when you can do, and how you can do it. From Fred, it says, can we put a memo at the entrance to our building that states mask must be worn in common area? Absolutely, it's on the county exec's order. It says that you need to put a mask on. So you have every right to do that. You are protecting your residents. I'll do one more and I'm going to come right back to Tom, and then I'm going to field one. It's going to be to either Stacy or Vicky. This one is, can we put up, I'm sorry, how do we handle our annual meeting schedule for June or July this year for the board of director elections? How would we conduct monthly meetings to pass motions without a public meeting? This is from Tom. Tom, if you're doing your meetings on Zoom, Skype, whatever it is, you've notified your membership, you've done it appropriately, properly based on the guidelines in your documents, you have an open meeting. Anything you vote on, as long as you have the quorum of whatever it is, it's the board meeting, quorum of the board, make your motions, pass them, and just document what you've done. So it's not a case of how do you conduct it? You can conduct your monthly meetings. Nobody is saying that you can't. We're just saying you have to give notice to the membership, just like you would the board. Give them the same affordance of getting to that meeting. So if you're going to send out a go-to-meeting request to the board, you better be sending the same thing out to the membership with the proper notice. Okay, Tom.
Sure, that's a great question. So at this point, we've not seen the lenders sort of taking any particular different approach to reviewing the communities, but I think, you know, they probably, as projects do come in, you know, the energy savings is the major part of what's being looked at in order to support the debt, right? So as long as the projection of savings, which is a real one, because that's, you know, what you're not paying the utility, you're saving. That's what they're generally underwriting. But certainly to get to the savings and to get to that, it comes through the assessments, right? So, you know, they'll look probably a little bit closer at what the historic delinquencies might be in there and see whether there's been any specific change in that presently. But we've not seen them put a particular major change to that at this point. But I would say that, you know, that's today. And if it continues on for some period, that may become a factor that they look at. We haven't seen it specific at this point, but could become a consideration of, especially if delinquencies were high to begin with in the community.
Okay, thank you. Vicki and Stacy, I'll let you both take a whack at this one. For any of the HOA managers, community. I didn't write it, I'm just reading it. Some of our members have given us feedback that they actually like the remote meetings better than the in-person meetings. Do you see HOAs turning their open meetings into primarily remote only meetings? Before you answer, I have probably heard that 10 times a week. I think it's great. More people get involved. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then Vicki. So yeah, I can tell you that I probably in at least 10 board meetings a month. And not only are we seeing the board meetings being more efficient, but we are seeing more residents attend the meetings. Board meetings where I had nobody attending and now I've got 20, 25 people attending. It's fantastic. And that was one of the questions I was going to ask at the CCOC is if there's a way to get that so that we can continue doing it for those associations who want to, because it just seems that they're really getting more participation, which is great.
Hopefully Frank's listening. Okay, Vicki, are you on? Vicki, I don't hear you're not muted.
She's showing muted
There
on
you
my
go.
side.
Wait a minute. Say that again.
She's showing muted on my side.
She might be muted on hers. All right, do you see anything now saying unmute?
She's unmuted here.
All right, try saying something.
Tell her to change your volume.
See ya. All right, we'll come back to you, let you think on that one. Okay, from Carolyn, concern about the availability of online director training.
Hold it. Can you hear me now?
There you go. Yeah, now we hear you.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Couple things. One is, one of the things about board meetings is that we have a large number of members who are off-site. And by having a virtual meeting, we're going to be able to include them, which I think is really important. The second issue that I'm facing in my community is that large numbers of my community members do not have computers. So my biggest concern is how can I assure that all people have access to the meeting?
AT conference, telephone.
So we can use, and you had mentioned previously to me that there's teleconferencing.
Yeah, we have availability for what's called
Yes.
AT conference up to
Great.
500 people.
Perfect.
And it works off a phone.
Great. Thank you.
And
Thank
it
you.
has passwords, so you can protect who's coming in.
Okay.
And
Thank
also, just like here, if you use Zoom or WebEx or whatever, there's call-in numbers, so they can always call, even if you do it virtually for half the community, there's still
Right.
call-in numbers so they can hear. And then if they have a smartphone, they can also use and dial into WebEx or Zoom or whatever and be able to see.
Right, and if there's anybody there that is having issues where they're having difficulty doing it, please reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to sit down with you and see what we can do to help you. We're assisting right and left.
Mark, I have one other question. One of the things we do not allow is the recording by the audience of the board meetings.
Yeah.
How can we handle that issue?
what we were told by council county was the best you can do is you let them know in advance, you've put it out on your stuff that you shouldn't do it, and you hope they don't. And if they do, you need to deal with it then. It's difficult. With these, there are some ways where we can do some things and we can tell. So I can get with you offline on that.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay. Carolyn, concerned about the availability of the online director's training class that was taken down a year or so ago. It came up on December 31st. I made my deadline, sir, Mr. Katz. We brought it up on December 31st live. We took it down about middle of January for a little bit of tweak, and it's back up. We are currently in the process of doing some tweaking on those other classes, and then we'll come to the commission when it's ready and see where we go there. But the director's training is live. You can get your certificate right on the computer. Simply go www.montgomerycountymd.gov/CCOC and hit the box for director training and then more. And if you're in a Google browser, simply type in CCOC. It is the #1 search engine on Common Ownership Community. Charlene, how can association hold a June annual meeting in this COVID environment without online voting? I hope we've answered it for you. If not, please contact us again at the office or reach out to me. My email, I believe, was at the bottom of everybody's invitation, as well as my phone number. So feel free to call me. I'm sorry, say that again. Feel free to email me and I will help direct you to where you need to be to get that taken care of. I have a question regarding bios of the panel. Could they be placed on the website as far as who we're reaching out to? Now, as far as the bios, I will talk to the folks on the panel separately, but as far as anybody that is affiliated with Montgomery County, they're there. As far as the CCOC, go to www.montgomerycountymd.gov/CCOC. Look to, I believe it's the upper right where it says Meet the Commission. Click that link. You'll see the pictures of all the commissioners. Click our picture. It will pull up our bio. And if you scroll further, it even goes so far, I believe, to our panel chairs and mentions our mediators in there. Am I right, Stacey? You nod. Okay. This is from Elizabeth. Was wondering if CCOC rules regarding private neighborhood playgrounds and COVID. Do we have to close the private neighborhood playground due to COVID if the county is, even though the state has opened their playgrounds? Yes. You must follow the local document first. So we are currently releasing things slowly. So please wait until the county executive and the council says it is okay. Laura, would someone please provide me with content for the things Mr. Katz is referring to? Oh. At 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, tune on channel 5 or 4, 7, and 9. And again, my sincere apologies to you, sir, and to Mr. Elrich. I don't want to go there.
Well, and if you just want me to very quickly say that it was a press conference and there were some people that did not like what was, I don't know that they even came to hear what was being said. They just came to say that the county should be open totally. And they shouted down Mark Elrich and others, Travis Gales, the public health officer, during the time that they were giving information about how we're trying to open the county in a step-by-step basis. And it was a shouting match by them, not not
I know,
violence.
y'all were very cool, calm, and collected.
Yeah.
I was surprised, and I don't know if you noticed it. I'll get with you offline, but one of our favorite friends was leaning against that pillar doing the most screaming. I'll get with you with her name, but you'll know it if I say it, but I don't want to say it here.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, she had a mask on. Otherwise, you would have known.
Okay.
Okay, from Kevin, our HOA bylaws state that budgets need to be approved by owners at the annual meeting. Does this mean it needs to be an in-person meeting for that portion of the meeting? Should social distancing in the foreseeable future and in-person meetings look like it's far away? Stacy, I'm gonna let you do this one. I mentioned the name.
Sure. So I think as we've said before, annual meetings can happen if you need the membership to vote. There's electronic voting companies out there, Vote HOA, and a couple of others out there that will do the balloting for you. And I think Karen has stated that as long.
This one, he's talking about the budget on this one.
Right. So if the owners need to approve the budget, it's the same thing. It's at the annual meeting. They do the balloting, and they allow people to vote electronically, and those that can't by person. And I think Karen has said that that's okay.
Okay, thank you. David, this one's coming to you.
Okay.
From Jim. Compliance with open meetings. Does the board have to hold an open meeting to comply with a with a decision related to an announcement by the state or county? For example, a decision to close tennis courts or to reopen tennis courts with restrictions on activities that attempt to comply with stated restrictions.
Well, I think the question is that an emergency order, which it was, in which case I believe the board can do that without necessarily holding an open meeting. But what I've advised all my clients to do is continue to hold their monthly meetings and adopt a resolution implementing whatever emergency decision they made when that executive order was issued. When that executive order was issued, it needed to be complied with, and then I would, at the next monthly meeting, adopt a resolution implementing a decision to close the tennis courts, the tot lots, and the pool until such time as the emergency restrictions are lifted. That way the board is protected.
Thanks. Okay, from Betty, will there be any assistance for HOAs? My small community has 75% non-payment since January. Who would like that one?
What's the question again?
Whoa.
Is there any assistance for HOAs? My small community has a 75% non-payment since January.
Well, I mean, the only thing legally that you can do right now is file liens. You can still go through the lien assessment process, the notice of liens, and file liens even though the courts are closed. That may get people's attention and help you collect the money, but I don't know of any state assistance or county assistance that's going to help you financially.
Could I add a couple things on that? Council President Katz has been generous enough to have a working group set up to look at providing immediate assistance to communities that are in serious financial straits. So we are working up some potential programs for the council to consider, because this is a very serious situation, and is even more difficult if you're in a community, a condominium, for example, that is master metered for utilities. So this is a very critical issue, and we are looking at this. There are a group of about 7 of us that are working on this development of programs to support communities that are having in dire straits, assuming they weren't 75% in arrears last year as well. I don't think they'd be around, but what we're probably going to be looking at is to determine if COVID has had an impact. We want to look at what, for example, one option might be looking at collections month by month last year compared with month by month this year. and to see what the differential is and see if there's potentially some help that can be provided in that case.
And to that degree, the federal government has, I use the term given, and that's not the right term, but
Right.
has sent $183 million to Montgomery County if it could only be used for COVID-related expenses. I mean, there's not anything else it can be. And the county has started using several grants, I think to the tune of, I had it somewhere, I had my numbers somewhere.
51 million.
Yeah, well, but we've used it in many other cases as well. And right now we're up to 51 million, and that in various things, food and other issues. And this would be something that my office certainly would consider, and along with my colleagues, if we can figure out how to do it, and that it's COVID related. It has to be COVID related.
Right.
We would certainly work with you to see if we can give you relief. We need a relief for a lot of things in a lot of ways for Montgomery County.
Thank you.
So Sydney, where would you recommend that this person contact? Your office first or somewhere else?
Yeah, contact Vicky. No. Contact my, yeah, no, I was kidding, Vicky. I was kidding. Contact my office, and we have someone who's working with Vicky and others on it.
Okay.
Yeah, we just met, what, 2 days ago?
Yeah, who knows?
Okay, this one, Peter J, he knows who I mean, and Sarah, if you would be so kind as to reach out to me tomorrow, I will help you regarding those 2 questions you have. They're looking for some assistance on how can we make this thing happen. As far as meetings, how can we help facilitate? So reach out to me and I'll help you with that one. Hey, Marie. Getting bad when I know everybody. She is asking if we will be posting the list of all the questions, and we're going to have the detailed answers. Yes, because we're audio and videoing this. All the questions are being into the system, and we'll have a complete dialogue chat for everybody to come back and refer to. This one's going to be for you. Dave, are you still here? I lost your picture. Oh, he took his picture off. What legal risk should HOAs consider before opening their pools?
Well, you've discussed it in great detail.
I know.
And if somebody
I
got
have about 7 of them all in a row.
What's that about the legal liability?
What's the law regarding opening a pool in a condo? What's the law about opening a pool in an HOA?
Well, right now, the health department's not allowing to open, but when and if the Montgomery County does allow it to open, that's a decision each association will have to make for itself. I don't know if Mr. Katz has any idea when the county might do that.
I don't. One of the things that I've heard, and it's a rumor, not that it's anything definite, but when and if something were to be done, more than likely it would be lap swimming rather than recreational swimming. I mean, that's one of the things that I have heard. I don't know that that's correct, and I mean, I'm not speaking for the public health officer. So it's that type of issues.
Yeah, I heard the same thing.
But I mean, the problem is, everybody knows America has an open access to the courthouse. So even though there might not be liability, God forbid, somebody goes to the pool, they're exposed to a large group, somebody gets close to them, and then they complain that the manager of the pool was not properly observing social distancing regulations and allowing these collective activities to take place. And you could see that could give rise to somebody potentially suing the manager of the pool and the manager of the associations. Now, I'm not saying that they would ultimately prevail in court, but you certainly wouldn't want to go down a long legal road to find that out and run into all the difficulties that might entail. Your insurance company ultimately would step in and defend you, but I think it would be a real problem, a potential liability issue.
May I add a couple of things with regard to condo pool? One of the things when we fill out condo certificates and warranties is lenders always want to know if you're being sued. And as soon as you're being sued, then there's difficulty making the loan. And even if you ultimately prevail in court as a condo association, in the meantime, it damages the community. That's one issue. The second issue that we're thinking about in my community is the cost to operate the pool under the current, the conditions if it opens in the next month, 45 days. Are you going to have to take somebody to take reservations so people can swim, so you limit the number of people in the pool? Are you going to have somebody in the men's room, somebody in the women's room to clean up after each group going through? Who's going to be cleaning up the deck furniture? There are just so many potential issues that all of which could become litigious, that we've really got to look at what the cost to open the pool is going to be. It may be that we're taking all 3 months, and if the pool opens in August, we're spending every penny we should have spent for the whole summer just on 1 month. But there are a lot of expenses associated with it that we need to consider.
Well, also given the fact that the county's slow rolling the opening of everything, I wouldn't be surprised, as Mr. Katz said, if they don't slow roll the opening of pools, you know, allow lap swimming between certain hours, adult swimming only. Children are the real problem. You know, you can't control children. They run around, they touch everything, they touch each other.
And they all congregate in the shallow end of the pool.
Well, that's the other problem, is that the Maryland guidelines for the health department is that the social distancing is inside the pool as well.
Right.
So it's not just the pool deck, it's inside the pool. So
Exactly.
if you live with someone,
Absolutely.
they can't be next
Okay.
to you in the pool. So there's that. And David, to your point regarding insurance, we've heard from some insurance carriers under their liability that they are not sure at this point in time if they will cover COVID-related lawsuits. So that's why I said in the beginning that before pools are open, that the board and management have to consult with their attorney and their insurance company just to make sure. Anyone can sue at any time, but you want to make sure that the association has done what they can do to protect themselves from.
I wanted the health department on here hopefully tonight, but I would suspect that when and if they open pools, there's going to be some very strict regulations they're going to issue, and I would certainly urge them to do that, because if anybody opens a pool, the only defense they're going to have really is that they followed all of these regulations, which will include signage. Signage is critical. I mean, you're basically putting liability on the person that's there saying, I gave you warnings, I told you to do this. So I would hope the health department's going to have some very clear guidelines with signage requirements that hopefully will give people a safe harbor if they do in fact open it, that they could comply with those rules.
Okay, if I could ask the panel, we have answered about 50, I guess, about now. And I said we were at about 80 something. I'm at 117 right now. Okay, so we've got maybe a half hour left if we could hit it. Okay.
So maybe, Mark, if we can, because I think we've pretty much addressed annual meetings, board meetings, pools. So are there something?
Right. I was going to add one more thing to that. If we do not pick up your question, absolutely, you're going to get a written response. But most of these appear to be repeating the same thing. So if you don't hear us mention your name, we are not slighting you. It's just been answered. I have one for the commander. Our HOA is near high school. With marijuana so prevalent, how does Montgomery County Police handling the student drug use on community property? We have been told that trespassing is wasted energy and the school will not restrict lunch leave.
They're not even at the school.
Right.
I know that.
There's a lot to digest there. So we're responding to calls for service whenever we have, complaints of drug use and trespassing, issues of that nature. I'll tell you, just in the 3rd district over the past 2 months, we've made a couple of arrests on school property for burglaries. Their school system has a very good security system, and we've had officers in place to make arrests. I'm trying to find the question here so I can read the whole thing. I apologize.
It's right here in the middle. With our HOA, Can you see my cursor? Let me take it to the top.
Yeah, and
Right
that's
there.
Anyway, oh, I got it.
Okay.
I see what you're doing. Nope. I don't know how to see your cursor. Just hit me with a question again, Mark. I
Okay.
apologize. I can't see it here.
Our HOA is near high school. With marijuana being prevalent, how
Right.
would Montgomery County Police be handling the student drug use on community properties? We've been told trespassing is wasted energy and the school will not restrict lunch leave.
Okay, so again, we enforce those. We dispatch officers if they should find them. If there should be evidence of that the officer sees of the of marijuana use, i.e., they smell freshly burnt marijuana, then they'll investigate further. If they're a juvenile, if they're an adult gets a civil citation. So the big thing is we get them out of the area where they're either trespassing or with the HOA if they're trespassing there, or if they're on school property, we move them on from there. I don't know where the trespassing is a wasted thing comes from, but
I would suggest they contact their district and talk to the community policing officer and see what they can do.
Sure, if there's an immediate problem, you call 301-279-8000. And officers will be dispatched. And if it's a ongoing thing, again, that's a great idea right there. In contacting the station and talking to the community service officer and getting it on the radar for a long-term plan.
Thank you, Karen. I'm not sure if you can answer this or not. They're asking, what's your guidance on the community association that has postponed the annual meeting board elections due to the closing of facilities, inability to meet in person, voting requirements by the bylaw and governing documents? Okay, I'm sorry, wrong one. If you have documents that have been passed, and I'm ad-libbing this, if you have documents that have been passed by the board, but you can't get into the court to record them, is there a way, if you can successfully prove that the documents were validly done, you have it in the minutes, and you can prove they were given to the homeowners, could you legally enforce it if it came push come to shove while the courts are closed?
That's going to be a decision of a judge. If it comes down to it that somebody challenges it, if it were something that were brought to our office, I think we would support that being valid because the courts are closed and you have no ability to get them into the court's records. But the judge itself, if it comes down to a legal proceeding to determine whether or not those things are valid, it's going to be up to a judge to make that decision.
Thanks. Okay, where are we? What's going to be included in phase 2? I am not sure myself. I don't think anybody knows at this moment.
We do not. We just did phase 1.
Right.
We don't know about phase 2.
But absolutely check the resources on the DHCA page, the Montgomery County main page. You will see it there for COVID-19. Click it. It has the up-to-date information about anything. And if you're not sure, reach out to us. We'll try and field it and do whatever we have to do. The annual meeting we've covered. Pools we have covered. Yes, the slides will be put up on our website. I hope with IT's indulgence, we should have them up by the weekend because we still have to edit some things on this video.
Mark, while you're looking for a question, I did see when I was kind of looking through the questions that
Yeah.
someone was asking about pools in a condo that the condo's private. it doesn't matter unless you have a pool in your backyard. Any pool in which more than your family that you live with in your unit, that is considered a pool that cannot open. And
You better not have more than 10 people there.
And you're not allowed to have more than 10 people. But the pools, again, unless it's your own private backyard pool, community association pools, whether it's an HOA, condo, co-op, still fall under the county orders.
Okay. Can we still charge late fees at this time? Who would like to talk?
I'll answer it. I mean, technically, there's nothing in the law that says you cannot. And so I know a lot of associations have passed a resolution, and that's up to each association to decide. If you want to give people, you know, a 3-month window in which you will not assess late fees for this period of time, as long as they repay that assessment later, and give them a certain period of time to do that. I've recommended certain associations do that, and they've adopted resolutions where if somebody contacts them and says we can't pay, they'll say, okay, we'll give you, you know, 3 months to pay it after this is over, and we won't assess a late fee. That's something each association should decide for itself. But I don't know anything in the law right now yet that says late fees are not enforceable.
May I add what our community did? Our board basically said that we're not going to charge late fees, interest, or begin any type of legal action until this lifts. And that if people will negotiate a payment plan and keep it, then they will not be charged any late fees or interest. Our community also set up a fund that people could donate to so that those people who do not have the funds and request assistance to help with their condo fee, that the board will be looking at distributing those funds to those people's accounts. And we have several people who have donated all of their $1,200 that they received because they said they don't need it and other people do need it. I'm in a community where many of our people are not considered essential. And so our community has been extremely generous on that. We've also done a lot of food collection and distribution out here.
Yeah, and you know, our company, you know, services lots of community associations. We've recommended to the board kind of what David was saying, because again, you can defer, but you can never waive the assessments. And so I know we had a couple unit owners contact their site managers and say, well, you know, is the management company going to forgive our assessments? And it's not the management company's assessments, it's the associations, and the legal documents don't allow, unfortunately, for associations to waive them off permanently, but they can defer them, as David said.
Right. Jay, you should have the PowerPoint in your email. I sent it to everybody in the beginning of the morning. Jim, up in Alney, do me a favor, give me a call tomorrow morning, sometime before noon, at my number here. You have it, and I'll be more than happy to work through these questions for you. Not a problem. We can take care of that. Frank, this one's for you. Excuse me. We're being asked if we can supply the guidelines in Farsi, the cleaning guidelines. I know we have it up in about 6 or 7 languages, and the website has everything in about 90 languages. Is that something we can do?
Well, it's clearly something that we could do. The standard language translations are the ones that have been provided. A request submitted to the department. We will look at what's available to us and how and where to target that. The county's decision has not been, to this point, to include Farsi as a mandatory component of our translations in the posted flyers and information. So the best answer I can give is that folks can contact DHCA and we can better understand the specifics of the request.
Okay, thank you. Charlene Brooks, is saying thank you, you're welcome. I'm not sure what we did, but you're welcome. Patrick, basically the same thing. The questions regarding your recommendations to hold annual meetings by video. There's an executive order from Maryland permitting remote shareholder meetings for public trading corporations and REITs. It seems that it would be relatively simple to lobby for the same for condominiums and other organizations. Is there any movement on the part of CCOC to do that? Part of the group that we were talking about earlier, one of the smaller arms of that group is going to be what can we do in legislature to make things happen, because nobody expected to see what we're in right now. And David Gardner's overseeing our legislative committee, so absolutely you're going to see some things happen in there. Judy, if a case is denied by the CCOC, you have a right to appeal it to the circuit court if you do it within 30 days, and you have to do it on the basis that the hearing panel was arbitrary and capricious when they made their ruling. But if you would contact me, I'll be more than happy to discuss maybe a detail what you're asking about. Frank, one's coming to you. I believe we said 90 days, but when are the CCOC fees due? At the $5 per unit, they'll be sent to DHCA. What is the process for such payments? Informing you of a rental unit. Our HOA has all individual houses and some are townhouses. Are you going to invoices? And we want a stay in status.
Okay, there's a number of components there. I didn't follow
know.
all of them. The first question is in terms of timing of payments. The payments under the governor's order, all licensing and fee payments were suspended until 30 days after the expiration of the governor's emergency order. And so that's the structure on the when. If you could help me with the other question component.
Our HOAs are all individual houses with some townhouses. Are you going to invoice us? And we want to stay in status. I think I probably handle this one.
Okay.
Once the stay is lifted, we will, the order is lifted, we will invoice out, and then you will be given the normal time, which I believe is 30 days after they're issued, to make the payment. If you have issues where you need assistance paying that payment to DHCA, please contact Department of Licensing and inside of DHCA, and we will work with you. If you can't reach them, get with us. We'll switch you over to licensing, and licensing will work with you to the best they can to help you make arrangements. We are overhauling the required documents that you need for registration. I think I saw a version of it yesterday that we have to do a couple things too, but it should be ready when we start sending stuff out so that everybody sees it and it's a little bit easier to understand. So hopefully that's answered your question for you. Tricia, they have to wear a mask. We are absolutely saying you need to wear one anywhere in public space. Judy, if you're wanting to be a volunteer on the commission, absolutely contact us. We'll show you how to do that. But we also have other volunteer positions out there, not only just a commissioner. So there are several ways to do it. To get to me, it's mark.fine@montgomerycountymd.gov. They're asking about the PowerPoints. Yes, they are absolutely going to be put up. We should have this thing up by as early in the weekend as we can. Transcript will be there also. Same thing for the next 3 or 4. A large expense of many homeowner associations is Montgomery County stormwater tax. Is Montgomery County looking into a moratorium on raising the stormwater tax? You're up, sir. 1 minute. There you go.
Yeah. I saw that one earlier as I was scrolling through the questions. We did not raise taxes. So I don't, off the top of my head, I do not believe that we changed that at all. Though I never like to give an answer on taxes till I actually have the book in front of me, and I didn't anticipate that one. So if there's a change to that, I will certainly let you know. But to my memory, we did not change any taxes.
And I don't think I saw it in there either.
I believe when we did a continuity of services, it was for everything. We didn't raise taxes in any way it was suggested that we do, but we didn't. So there again, until I can tell you for sure, I can't tell you this evening.
And then when the CCOC did our budget, we forecasted the $5 out. So what was it, David? 2027, something like that, if everything was status quo, and it would remain at the 5. So we're not looking to raise anything here either. Commander, I've got one for you. How does Montgomery County plan to enforce social distancing if we witness large gatherings in our communities?
So when you witness those, if you call, again, 301-279-8000, we will dispatch officers. Right now, Chief Jones' current stance is that we're going to encourage people to abide by the social distancing regulations. Especially in Montgomery County, again, still in effect through June 1, and through the state still in effect. So we'll encourage the folks to disperse, and encourage, if there's an owner there, to disperse the group. We have done that, and we'll continue along that path. If for some reason we see a number of people that just want to ignore and not abide by those safety recommendations, then I'm sure Chief Jones will take that into account and see if we need to escalate our activities when dealing with that. So right now we just ask people to move along, remind them of the regulations in place, and so far I will tell you we've had good conversations, and that has occurred. People have been reminded and gone about their business.
Okay. Sarah had a question for Tom, and I think it's missing a component. And what I will do is I will reach out to her tomorrow. I know who this is. And tomorrow's Friday. She'll be in her office up in Baltimore. So she knows which Sarah I'm talking to. And then I will put her in touch with you, Tom, so that y'all can work together. Okay?
Super.
All right. Thanks. This one is for the lawyers. On one hand, the county is looking to assist associations who are struggling to collect sufficient funds to provide basic services. On the other hand, the county will not hear collection cases until August. What can the county do to get the courts to open sooner? What's wrong with virtual hearings?
Well, I mean, the simple answer is we have the 3 parts of the government. The executive order is issued by the executive branch. The court order is issued by Judge Barbieri, who is the chief judge of the Court of Appeals. She's actually the executive administrator of the Maryland court system. And she issues an order of her own volition. The judicial system does not have to follow the legislative branch or the executive branch. So to my knowledge, there's nothing that Mr. Katz or the council can do, and there's nothing that the county executive can do. The only thing they could possibly do is encourage her to change her order. But at this point, you've got to realize that the court system has, I forget, I was on a webinar, I think 400 employees in the circuit court in Montgomery County.
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, the district court probably has 200 employees. It is a big place of employment. And throughout the state of Maryland, I have no idea, 10,000, 15,000 employees, 20,000. So the head of that court is deciding things for the health of those people. And I know it impacts everybody. I guess to the extent there might be alternative tribunals, but when it comes to collecting fees, the only place that you can do it is through the district court, and you can't collect it through the CCOC, and there's no other place to do it. So unfortunately, I don't think there's anything that we can do or the council could do to change it.
Okay.
Question, is there any way that the county council, CCOC, could possibly request the court to consider a magistrate system to only hear these particular collection cases?
Well, you got to realize these collection cases that you are concerned about are the ones you're concerned about. You know, there's lots of there's banks, there's credit card companies, there's individuals, you know, small businesses. There's a lot of people that file collection accounts. I will admit, when I go to court, I'd say probably 20%, 30% of the collection cases are HOA and condos.
Yep.
You'd be amazed when you hear the court dockets.
Yep.
It's an interesting suggestion, but I just don't see it ever happening.
Yeah, I just think at this point it's overwhelming. I mean, there again, it's a state entity. Just as an aside, Montgomery County actually funds the circuit courts. We don't fund the district courts, but we fund the circuit courts. They don't work for the county. They're state employees, but we fund them. And whoever made that deal so many years ago for the state of Maryland was a great negotiator, because every county has to have a circuit court. It is what happens. It is what we do. They're a separate entity, you know, I mean, and they have their own, as Mr. Gartner says, they have their own issues and do a wonderful job in many ways. So anyhow, I don't see how that would work. And I certainly don't believe it's going to work right now. They are literally overwhelmed. I mean, they just have a backlog beyond backlogs.
Thank you. There are a lot of questions for Tom regarding other utilities other than Pepco. Green Bank is here to do what they can do to help. We also partner with our environmental protection at some times where they get together to work on some things. Tom, I'm going to send all of these to you. You'll get a copy of them all, along with emails of all the folks involved, so that you can reach out to them firsthand. Because I don't know if you're seeing them, but I just scrolled through at least 8 of them in a row, and it's all about, do we work with BGE? Do we have any rebates on this? Can we do that? I know you do. That's why I'm saying I'm just going to roll them straight to you. And then if you can put them in touch with Stan if they need to, let me know.
Sure. That works.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Ted, I believe that was covered in the press conference. If the council president would like to address it, you know, that is entirely up to him. The question is, it'd be helpful for Mr. Katz on behalf of the county executive to provide the health reasons, the health related reasons our county has been held up in reopening.
Well, there again, you can look on our website on the COVID-19, as you were talking about earlier, Mark.
Right, it's right there on the main page of the plateau criteria you need.
Yeah, there's a variety of things that we're heading in the right direction. We're not perfect by far, and we hope that it will continue to flatten out and do better than that, but that's what it's based on. And there again, it is based on public health information. I mean, the public health officer, Dr. Travis Gales, is the person who is giving the advice to the county executive and the county council.
Thank you. There are some more regarding what things are available regarding help with infrastructure and Green Bank. I know there are things that can happen. I mean, I was instrumental in getting you together with, I think, 2 of those 3 you had up there when you were doing your presentation, Tom. So again, I'm going to send all these folks to you. Whoa. Can roofing contractors and fence contractors start work on your property that are long overdue?
As far as I know, we've got buildings that are doing work outside. There's
right. There's nothing that says You know, if it's essential and they need to get it done, absolutely get it done. We're not saying rip somebody's wall out and displace them right now, but whatever you need to do, handle. Can a community make a face covering mandatory at its local meetings? It's covered. The basic state is please make sure that you are spacing 6 foot apart. Make sure that you are absolutely using face coverings wherever you are in public space, because we don't know who has or who does not have. Vicki, you've got one for you. If someone is behind on their fee assessments prior to the social isolation, and a lien has been placed on their property, but they have not made good on their promises to pay the fees off, can the association begin foreclosure? I think that's going to be more of David, but currently everything is stayed. You can't do anything.
Right, and it's only just because the courts are closed. There's not anything,
Right.
as it's a judicial foreclosure. It's not an actual foreclosure on the home, but it's the courts are closed.
Right. So please check our site. All the time. Right now, we're talking at the earliest, the middle of July. We're now at the end of May.
Is this a foreclosure question? I was.
If they're behind on their assessments, can they start proceedings, foreclosure proceedings?
Well, there's an administrative order staying all foreclosure proceedings until July 25th. That's when residential foreclosures and evictions, the order is going to be lifted. So nothing can be done until after July 25th.
Right. Tom, absolutely. As long as you do it in an open meeting and you've given notice to the membership, the officers can be elected right there unanimously if that's what they want to do. Just make sure that you put it in the minutes and that you've advertised the meeting sufficiently as you would to the board. It was a question of, can we just continue on with the same board officers if that's what we want? Susan, I only got part of your question, but give me a call. I thought you were working with folks on what you're talking about there. Jenny, should an association ask residents to sign a waiver of responsibility if the pool's reopen? That's a good question.
So my understanding is that that waiver does absolutely nothing, and I think David can chime in, but if you get somebody to sign a waiver and then, they get sick and they sue you, I don't think the waiver holds up at all.
I know they're hoping it's going to be that psychological.
It would show that they assumed the risk of liability, if you will, by waiving any claim. However, Maryland does have a rule that you cannot waive a claim based on negligence. So if they could show active negligence on the part of the company that ran the pool, they could try to pierce that waiver. But to the extent it said that I'm engaging in an activity with inherent dangers, it would be effective for that. So, it would help, but it wouldn't be a cure-all.
Right. Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I got can I jump in? I did get the answer about the rain information, the rain charge. The county executive had suggested a higher fee. The county council came in with a slightly lower one. It's a fee, not a tax. I mean, not,
right.
Shakespeare talked about a rose, but anyhow, it's a fee rather than a tax. And however, there is no moratorium related to it. The council approves the rate each year by resolution, and the fiscal year FY21 approved rate is $107.60. So that is the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you. There was a question from Tim regarding insurance and whether your insurance policy is going to cover COVID. Good question. I would suggest you talk to your attorney and also talk to your insurance broker about what coverage you have available to you and will it cover it or not. Some more questions on a mask. Joe, regarding the pool, I understand that you might be following the CDC guidelines. Currently, the county's position is you can't open. So they're pretty much saying that for everything. So if it's a gym, if it's a tennis court, if it's a basketball court, pool, whatever, they're currently closed if they're inside. So
Outside too.
please, I'm sorry.
Outside pools, outside gyms, they're closed as well.
Right. Please, absolutely. I would not say close off your bathrooms, Francine. That would not be the thing to do. Heidi, you're saying that the county executive order does not cover face masks required in common areas. It says urges, but we are sitting here and it's pretty much saying, and I'm quoting from today at 3:35, right after you folks came in from Rockville, wear a face mask covering always in public indoor spaces and when physically distancing cannot be maintained outside or outdoors. That means we're wearing a face mask. So I don't know where the urge came from, but the county's news release at 3:35 is saying wear them. If we're in violation of bylaws or other governing documents, if monthly meetings are not covered, that would depend on what your documents say. You would need to take a look at your bylaws, and if it says you have to have monthly meetings, you need to try and get a monthly meeting. If you need assistance setting it up, please call us. We'll try and help you do what you need to do. But just because of COVID, that doesn't mean we stop operating as an association. Carmen, when giving notice to HOA members of board meetings, make sure to give notice to the membership via email, and those without email in our association to notify them via paper mail of a meeting. You know what I'm going to say, Stacy, about email versus that. So if you want to get into the electronic, go for it.
Yeah. So my understanding is that if the board holds their meetings on a regular basis, you can send that schedule out once a year. And if it's something that's not already scheduled, you can say that, it's sent out by email, it's posted on the website or a building's bulletin boards, or they can contact the management company. But my understanding is that as long as you tell the community where they can get the information, that you do not have to mail out by mail notices of every single meeting throughout the year.
Thanks. Do you have advice on HOA members who refuse to attend online meetings? They don't have to attend if they don't want to. You just have to make sure that you give notice to the membership of the meeting the same way you would to the board. If they choose not to go, that's entirely on them. They have the opportunity, but you want to make sure that you gave the notice and it was done properly. I'm trying to roll through. A lot of them are the same. Marie, go to the DHCA main page. Look at the bar where we have, I think we call it the scrolling marquee, and it's about the 5th one that'll show up. If you click that banner, it will have all that information you're asking about there. Frank, are the staff of DHCA out doing enforcement actions during this time?
The DHCA code inspectors are not going into properties unless there is a health or safety high priority. So the enforcement will be exterior. We will work with calls and follow up on every single call. But if there's an inspection that is not health and safety related, we're logging those, and we will be following up with those as soon as we have the ability to, work with the, inside the orders in terms of getting into buildings for the safety of both the resident and the inspectors.
Okay, thank you. Jeff is saying, in response to another question, can't control whether someone is going to record a meeting. State is preamble at the top of the meeting. Correct. State in the preamble at the top of the meeting that recording is not permitted, and it's official record of the meeting. That's when you're recording minutes, and anything else is unauthorized. Absolutely. And I would make sure it's on the sign-in page so that they see it when they come in. Unless y'all are seeing something I'm not, everything I'm seeing is talking about, can you have a mask? Can you wear a mask? Can you have a meeting? And can we open the pool?
What time is this supposed to end, Mark?
In about a minute. I got one. I know the answer.
Got any wrap-up comments? That you'd
Yeah.
like to give?
Let me cover this one because apparently they didn't hear us because it's not too long ago. Can we waive association dues for homeowners that have been furloughed due to COVID-19? Unfortunately, no. Make a plan, whatever you need to do, get with them, make sure they understand. So be preventative, not reactive, okay? Let them know how to get a hold of you. Now, with that, I think we went through about 150, 200 questions. I have all of them here. I will absolutely make sure that everyone gets an email answer to their question so that you will get something back from us, even if it is a repetitive question. We'll have everything posted up. I would personally like to thank my panel. Mr. President, I greatly appreciate you being here. I know you have had a very long day. Same thing, Commander. My fellow commissioners, thank you. Vicki, Karen, Petra, Frank, I'll be talking to you in the morning. And so you don't think I'm crazy, smile. He is here.
Oh my God.
He's running the questions for me. But I promise you that once this is done, it will go into a download. We'll edit to make sure we've got it right, and I'll have it up on the site as soon as possible. You're going to get an email automatically tomorrow, so don't kill me, please. That's going to say thank you for being here, and it's going to ask you 1 or 2 questions. In addition to that, I will send the email to everybody who signed in to let you know that the stuff is up on the site and where it is with a link so that you'll go directly to that link for the site. I appreciate it. And panel, anything?
Thank you, Mark, so much for moderating this.
Thank you. Did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you
are
for all the
scheduling-
participants, the many people that came in. Those were some great questions, and they showed everybody was being very attentive, and we appreciate it.
And I'm appreciative of the fact that it is at 9 o'clock and we're still at 185 people listening. So we appreciate it. Please, any questions, contact us. We're here to help.
Good night,
Hopefully
Mark.
what we've done has given you a little bit of information. And if you have questions, let me know. I'll send the information to one of the commissioners. They've already volunteered, and they'll reach out to you one-on-one to help you out. Okay, folks?
Thanks, Mark.
All right,
Thanks,
thanks
Mark.
everybody.
Great
Thank you.
job.
All right,
Good night.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Mhm.
Thank you, council member.
Thank you. Good seeing everybody.
Same here. Everybody take care.
Thanks.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you again, Karen.